Marvel star Jonathan Majors jokes about Idris Elba's good looks in SNL debut. It humbles you in his first time hosting Saturday Night Live. Jonathan Majors poked fun at his The Harder They Fall co-star Idris Elba's good looks, talked about working at Red Lobster, and revealed another title for his new Marvel movie. Majors began his monologue discussing the making of the Netflix western The Harder They Fall, which pits him vs Elba as rival outlaws. It was fun filming that movie, but if you ever want to feel bad about how you look, definitely spend 2 months right next to Idris Elba. It humbles you. The Emmy-nominated Lovecraft Country actor called his life a crazy journey, from moving around a lot as a military brat to being a 17-year-old homeless, living in my car, working at Red Lobster and Olive Garden. Interview Jonathan Majors talks of The Harder They Fall, making guns on movie sets absolutely safe. When reflecting on what he learned during those days, Majors said, I learned that Red Lobster and Olive Garden are owned by the same parent company, so you can work at both places with no problem. Side note, it's crazy how many people got their start at Red Lobster, Majors said, before adding that both Nicki Minaj and Chris Rock are Red Lobster alums. Now, I don't know what they're putting in them Cheddar Bay biscuits, but it's working. That experience, it taught me a lot, Majors said on a more serious note. It taught me that if you work hard, if you trust the plan, great things can happen. Review. Netflix's The Harder They Fall is a stylish Western shoot-'em-up to remember. Major next appears in Marvel's upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, in theaters July 28, 2023, or as the Black community likes to call it, not Black Panther, the actor quipped. He concluded his monologue by explaining how feeling the bigness of hosting SNL made him remember his grandfather's advice. He'd say, "Grandson, everything's big at first, but you walk up on it, you face it, and pretty soon it's so small, you can put it in your pocket." Which incidentally is the tagline for the next Ant-Man movie. More SNL: Taylor Swift sings 3 Sad Virgins, and All Too Well gets a Weekend Update shout-out, and SNL took on the Ted Cruz vs. Big Bird feud in cold open with Britney Spears. We did it. Actor Jonathan Majors makes debut on SNL. Sketch show pokes fun at Senator Ted Cruz. Saturday Night Live review. The best and worst of Jonathan Majors' hosting debut. This week's Saturday Night Live saw The Harder They Fall star Jonathan Majors take on first-time hosting duty. Continuing this season of new hosts and comedic experimentation, this week's Saturday Night Live saw The Harder They Fall star Jonathan Majors take on first-time hosting duty. And not just any first-time hosting duty, as he had to do so with Taylor Swift as the heavily buzzed about music guest. Also, it's amazing the sketch had the restraint. One thing to really appreciate about this new season of SNL, in all of its freshness and newness, is the fact that it's not relying on gimmicks for its opening monologues. While a scripted Q&A, a Studio 8H tour, or even the occasional musical number can be fun, the past few years have been so overloaded with gimmick monologues, particularly in the musical number category, that there was obvious burnout. The back-to-basics nature this season has taken with both its hosts and their monologues has been refreshing. But nerves still exist, especially coming from a first-time host, and that's also something that has been very apparent this season. Jonathan Majors' monologue, for example, was perhaps the greatest example of these nerves, as he was both so amped from the adrenaline rush and nervous that he pretty much rushed through his entire monologue, leaving no real breathing room, or even place for the audience to fully digest and laugh at, or even just appreciate. What he had to is much appreciated, but unfortunately, this set the tone for the rest of the episode, and Majors' somewhat shaky, though committed, even through stumbled lines, performance throughout. As is ultimately the case for most of this episode's sketches, March of the Suitors had some interesting bits but was neither tight or cohesive, nor particularly relevant enough to really hit hard. That's definitely not for lack of trying on anyone's end, especially for Chloe Fineman, Mikey Day, and Aidy Bryant as the Queen and her aides, respectively. There's probably a way to make Feynman's Queen Matilda I a recurring character, as she's someone who lives for the drama. The conclusion with Punky Johnson's Lady Tawny, turned Mad Queen Tawny the Terrible, made this one of the few live sketches of the episode with a solid finish, and hopefully also provided an opening for Johnson to get to do more on the show, as she always hits when she's allowed to. And she hit here. Just listen.